This population of lizards represents a single species. The body colors of individuals vary from dark to light, which is a difference in phenotype determined by genetic inheritance. At any time, you can press the histogram button to see the frequencies of the phenotypes in the population. This population of lizards provides an example of how one species can diverge into two distinct species. Geographic barriers can come and go over time. For instance, a river can change course and divide a population, allowing each separated group to evolve independently. The physical splitting of a population by a barrier that arises in its midst is one of two ways in which allopatric speciation can begin. We will consider the other, dispersal, shortly. After 20 generations, the populations have evolved. Because of a difference in soil color, natural selection favors darker individuals in the population on the left and lighter individuals in the population on the right. Notice that a mutation for spotting has arisen in the population on the right. After an additional 20 generations, the color difference has continued to evolve, and the mutation for spotting is spreading among the lizards in the population on the right. After an additional 20 generations, the populations have evolved even further. Notice that the population on the left is mostly dark, and the one on the right is mostly light, with a higher frequency of spotting amongst the lightest individuals. In this example, the two populations have diverged from each other genetically. But are these populations two distinct species? If part of a population migrates to an isolated location, allopatric speciation may cause the original population and the part of the population that has migrated to diverge into two distinct species. Let's assume that lizard color is controlled largely by genetics. In this example, a subset of the population rafts over to the island on driftwood. As you can see, the frequency of phenotypes among the colonists is different from that among the lizards on the mainland. The island population has already diverged from the mainland population because it's been founded by a population with a different proportion of genotypes than exist in the mainland population. Evolution occurs whenever allele frequencies in two populations change over time. After 20 generations, a mutation for spotting has arisen in the island population. After an additional 20 generations, selection on the mainland has favored lizards of medium to dark color. The island lizards are still light-colored, and more members of this population have inherited the mutation for spotting. After an additional 20 generations, the populations have evolved further. All of the island lizards are light-colored and have spots. In this example of dispersal leading to isolation, the two populations have diverged from each other genetically. But are these populations two distinct species? How do we determine if a new species has arisen? While geographical separation is the most important factor in getting speciation going, it cannot bring about speciation by itself. Following geographical separation, two populations of the same species must then undergo physical or behavioral changes that will keep them from interbreeding should they ever be reunited. Suppose the geographic barrier separating these two diverged populations is removed and they're reunited into a single population. What will happen? In this example, matings, indicated by lines, are common between individuals of the formerly isolated populations. The individuals continue to interbreed and produce viable offspring for several generations. Therefore, speciation did not occur between the previously divided populations. These populations did not become reproductively isolated. Therefore, they are of the same species. In another example, the lizards from two populations that had been evolving independently are reunited. A drop in sea level has removed the geographic barrier between them, bringing them back together. What will happen? In this case, individuals recognize and preferentially mate with individuals from their former population, indicated by the connecting lines. What will happen when a light spotted lizard mates with a dark unspotted lizard? In this scenario, the hybrid offspring of spotted and unspotted lizards are at a disadvantage. The gene that causes spotting has a negative effect on fitness in dark-colored individuals. Therefore, the two populations did diverge significantly during their geographic separation. If hybrids are at a disadvantage, natural selection may favor mechanisms to avoid hybridization, and the populations will remain different. Species recognition traits, such as color and markings, may diverge to a greater extent when two similar species are sympatric, that is, living together. For example, the dark-colored lizards may preferentially mate with other dark lizards, and the light lizards may preferentially mate with other light-colored lizards. Let's look at the next generation. Notice that the darkest and the lightest lizards are the most abundant. The extreme trait values that ensure mating between compatible individuals, such as the very dark and the very light colors, are favored in these populations. The intermediate trait values are selected against. Selection for species recognition traits that prevent hybridization is called reinforcement. In these populations, matings between light-colored individuals with spots are favored in one incipient species, and matings between dark individuals without spots are favored in the other. Reinforcement increases the morphological divergence between the two new groups, ensuring that they will remain reproductively isolated. Intermediate phenotypes have disappeared, and the extreme phenotypes have increased in frequency. Reinforcement is a specific kind of natural selection called disruptive selection. Once this process completely isolates the two groups reproductively, we can call them two different species.